Hi, I'm Dawn.
And I'm Ashley.
We'd like to welcome you to the Work It, You Are Worth It podcast.
We're two friends sit around and talk about healing, growth, and healthy relationships.
Hey, Ashley.
Hey, Dawn, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's Sunday, final Sunday of Christmas vacation. I've been out of work
Uh,
for 2 weeks. Today's the last day, so I'm trying to soak in all of the relaxation time I can. And we're going to go see the Chinese Lantern Festival in a
oh, I love
couple towns
Chinese
over.
lanterns.
We're going tonight. I'm excited.
Oh, I love a good Chinese lantern. Yes.
So yeah, no, I'm good. I'm working through those Sunday blues, getting back to work. You know how
Yeah.
that is.
Oh, I do. I had that on New Year's Day because I went back on Tuesday and right into the fire. Yeah, was already day one back working till 7 and then Friday was my birthday, and I had plans to go out for dinner. And I mean, I went, but I was like, I told my boss, I'm like, I'm celebrating tonight with my friends. I'm gonna log off, I'll log off early. So my thought was like, I'll log off at 2. That would have given me plenty of time to just chill, right? Do whatever I wanted to do. And yeah, 4:30 was coming around, and she's like, you need to leave.
Yeah.
Because I had to meet I was meeting my friends at 6. I'd showered, but like I hadn't picked out what I was going to wear. I didn't have makeup on. I didn't have like, yeah. Um, it was so busy, and I worked yesterday, so I'm in the thick of it. So, um, just trying to usually I have a few days I can kind of like get back into the groove of just working after the holidays. This time it's thrown to the wolves, and I'm just like, now it's just go, and I have to get to that. My mind has to get to that place where of just I kind of consider it like when I was in track, and I was a sprinter. I would when I would run in the races, there was a point, and it was almost euphoric for me. So I'd get to a point where my body just knew what to do, and it was all I heard in my ears was boom, 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 boom. Just the running. And my
Hmm.
whole body just became automatic. And for me, there's never been a high like that high. I haven't chased a high ever, but I've done that couple times as an adult, and it's still, my body knows what to do. It goes there. Now I just can't, my knees. That's probably why my knees are bad. But it's
That
just
probably is why your knees are
yeah.
bad.
But it was just, yes. And so it's like I just need to find that place with work this month where I'm just on autopilot. I need to be on autopilot.
Yeah. And it's crazy that you say that and describe it the way you did at the beginning there, because I know going back into work this week, it's going to be busy. We have a
Hmm.
lot of projects. There's a lot of things that have to be completed this month. There's a lot that's happening. It is going to be super busy, especially tomorrow because we've been gone for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
right? So that doesn't mean that the trucks stopped. So we're coming into an entire area that's full that needs to be taken care of. We have 2 weeks of work to catch up on top of the day to day. So it's going to take us a week to catch up, and then it's going to take us a week to get back on track, and then
Hmm.
it'll finally in 2 weeks we'll settle in, but we're not going to be settled into the day to day because we got 3 or 4 projects that are going on, and so it's going to be pretty busy.
Yeah.
And so it's really like it started on Friday for me. I called it the Sunday blues, but it's like the back to work blues. And I really enjoy my job, right? I love
Yeah.
the people I work with. I, I don't necessarily love the job itself, but
Right.
the company is great. The people are great. I enjoy what I do. So it's not like I don't want to go to work. It's not like I hate work. It's just, man, it's been so nice to wake up when my body wanted to wake up, to go
Hmm.
to sleep when my body wanted to clean when it needed clean, rest when I need to rest. Like
Yes.
it's just been really, really, really nice the last 2 weeks. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything. I mean, I had some work and I took care of some dogs and right, I did stuff, but nothing that was required
Right.
to do. So to go back to the 9 to 5 and the next on the list, hurry up, next on
Yep.
the list, 1,000 things waiting and a million things to go, and just amping myself up, but at the same time trying to stay in the last day of vacation and relaxation and stay present in the moment.
Yeah. Yep, I get that. So, um, it's just hard. It is hard. And I think, right, I think the two, like one of the things about the holidays and work, right? It's Thanksgiving starts it. It's just always, I feel like from Thanksgiving to the New Year, it stops, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. It's this constant just, and it's like I am such an autopilot person with, like I said, with work, and I said that earlier, right? I just want to, and it makes the, I hate to say it, does make time go faster because I just slip right into that and I can just, right, it's just one day after the next, Monday to Friday, right? It's, I don't do a lot outside of my wheel during the week because I want to stay on autopilot because when I don't, then I don't know, I just feel off. So I don't know, that's what it felt like for me for the holidays, just to start and stop, and I'm just ready to find that find that place again.
Yeah, yeah, that autopilot. Not I see, and it's not so much autopilot for me at work. It is very much autopilot. Like I can turn my brain off and just focus on the next
Yeah.
task at hand. And working up to that point, right? Just cross off that list, that to-do list, piece by piece by piece, and have that 9 hours a day where I can't think about anything except
Right.
what's right in front of me right now.
Yeah, and you know that's actually it kind of brings into what I wanted to something I wanted to discuss with you a little bit. So one of the things like I said, you know, January is very busy for me. Well, January, February are very busy for me, and normally it is very much. I know I'm just trying to survive through it. I'm not the only person in my job that feels that way. That is just with what we do at this time of year is what it is. Just got to survive. Um, and my friends are very, they know, like, right? I'm like, I went out Friday. You know, I can say to them, you know, hey, I just need to chill. They all have very busy jobs as well, do work weekends as well, once in a while. So very, very good there. So I know that this is going to be, you know, that part of it is just going to be, it's kind of normal.
Well,
Um,
and you know, you have the next 3 months usually, right? January,
yeah,
February through March,
yeah,
usually, right?
yeah. Right, Coda always has to take a back seat. And not the whole 3 months, but there is about 3 weeks that I can't do calls, I can't do meetings, because I'm working till 10, 11 o'clock at night. Um, I do try to listen on the meetings, you know, but I'm sitting here working you know, the other laptops up and or the meeting, the meetings up. But come on, am I really paying attention if I'm working? Right?
No,
It's
you're just subconsciously taking it in.
right. So, I mean, just being, you know, just being honest about this. So, anyways, I think I told you, I know I told you, that I met someone back in May in New Orleans, in NOLA.
Yeah, I remember.
Yes, and I told you that, you know, we have been chit-chatting and talking and getting to know each other, and we had kind of decided that we were going to get together. We decided this about 3, 4 weeks ago that when the first time we could really get together would be like April. So now you're a year, we haven't seen each other in a year. We haven't talked but in April, it'd be seen each other in a year, haven't talked. I mean, we just talked. Um, right, enjoy him as a like I just really do like him. And so I get a text and then I get a call and he's like, "I don't want to wait till April. I had some money free up and I want to come to Florida."
Wow.
So, um he's like, we talked about my schedule and I said, you know, you get too much past the 19th, 20th, 21st, that's pushing my really busy time. Like really busy time, right? The long
Like 3 weeks of not being able to do anything because you're working until 10 o'clock at night.
Exactly. So it's just on the cusp. And he's like, "Well, how about I come the 17th to the 20th?" Thought about it. I'm like, "Okay." I said, "I'm, you know, I'll work a lot before." That way I won't have to work that weekend. And okay, so he's coming. Flights are booked.
Wow.
Flight is booked. He booked it. So this is where I kind of want to, I want to talk about this because I need to talk about this from a place.
From a
So
healthy place.
maybe and an unhealthy place. I'm just going to be honest. Like, right? I have to get
You
through
got to get it
these.
out.
I do. So, I'm very excited, right? I'm excited because he took the initiative to want to come see me. He also made a conscious effort to be mindful of my schedule, and we've worked together in that. Um, Not staying an overly long time. So he was very much like, then he's asking me, he's like, okay, so, with Colin being home, um, how would that work? And I said, well, I said, out of respect for Colin, I would just say we should, we would get a hotel room. We'll just get a hotel room. And um, we'll just stay there. So I mentioned it to Colin, and he was like, okay, whatever. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, my mom's been complaining that he hasn't come over there. So maybe Colin could go over there, kill two birds with one stone. So I talked to Colin before I said anything to anyone else, right? Colin and I have this relationship. He is an adult. I can have these conversation with him. Even though sometimes he isn't an adult mentally. He is only 19. So I said, hey, what would you think if I said, Bruce Dwayne, that's what I'm going to call him because that's what Colin and I call him. That is not his name. The reason we call the boys and I call him that, there was a mix up in his name in the beginning. And then I was like, that reminds me of Batman. And
There
so
you
now,
go.
now that's okay. So, um, so I said, Bruce Dwayne's coming to town. You know this. And I said, I was thinking to save a little bit of money and right, not to have to displace me, right? And all of this. And you could go see grandma. What do you think about staying at grandma's for the weekend? And then we would just stay here. And he's like, "Oh, okay. So, are you sleeping in my bed?" Like that was the first thing out of his mouth. I was like,
Why would
"No."
you sleep in his bed?
I was like, "No, Colin,
You
I'm
have your own bed, right?
right." Well, he in his head, this is where he is still a very much of a little boy, right? And he is on the spectrum, so there is some of these. He was thinking he would come and one of us would sleep in his bed and one of us would sleep in my bed.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I said, "Well, no, Colin." I said, "We won't." I said, "First of all, I will not sleep in your bed because he's 19 years old and he's gross, right? Just being real.
Yes.
Yeah. Wash the sheets. I don't care. Gross." Um, I said, "No." I said, "We would sleep in my bed." And he just stopped for a minute and he just sat there. "Oh, are you going to have Smex?" He couldn't even.
Oh, I love it.
I said, "Well, I I don't know, but probably." Like I can't. I said I'm assuming so, but I'm
Like
not gonna.
maybe, I don't
I
know.
don't know. Um, and he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, do I get to meet him?" And I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "You can meet him." And he thinks he's very cool because I think I told you, and I don't know if I told everybody else, but I'll say it down here. He's in the entertainment business, so he went to clown school. That wasn't his full-time career for years. Now he's a actual performer on Beale Street and Bourbon Street and down there. Um, and so during Christmas, he does Santa Claus and clowns, and he
Nice.
owns costumes and like puts those out and does shows and da da. So yes,
Sounds like
um,
a lot of fun.
it does, right? Completely different than being an accountant. Um, but Colin thinks that sounds really cool that he went to clown school. So he wants to meet him so he can talk to him about clown school. Anyways, not that Colin wants to go to clown school, or I would be okay with it. I mean, I would be okay with it because I'd have to be because it's his choice.
What's wrong with clown school? I
Nothing,
mean, that sounds so much fun. I would go to
right?
clown school. I wouldn't expect to make being a clown a career, but it sounds very much like being a performer.
Y-
It absolutely, like when I think about being a performer down on Bourbon Street, that sounds like a freaking awesome career.
Right? I mean, he is really good. I mean, but yeah, so and this goes kind of in all of these this like this is where I need to talk about this in a healthy and a very unhealthy way. So anyways, I said yes, and I reached out to Bruce Wayne and asked him, I said, I talked to Colin, why don't we just stay here instead of doing the hotel? And he's like, oh, no, 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 I don't want to put Colin out. That's Colin's house. That's Colin's place. We're not going to displace Colin. Let's just get a hotel. And I'm like, no, no, I discussed it with him and we talked about it and he is okay with going to my mom's. I said he just wants to meet you because he thinks you sound like a cool guy. And I really, and okay, so again, I love what I'm hearing, right? He's taking Colin into consideration, doesn't want to displace Colin, right? His fucking dad doesn't even do that. So for someone to take Colin into consideration is good for me. I like hearing that. And I wouldn't have expected anything less from him with the conversations that we've had. So, anyways, so he is coming to town. One of my girlfriends is having a party. So I said to him, I said, hey, yeah, that weekend my girlfriend's having a party. You want to go? And he's like, he didn't hesitate. He was like, okay. Then he called me and he's like, what's the weather? What's the dress code for the party? What's this part, what's the party gonna be like? I told him and he's like, okay. Like there was no hesitation about getting to know. I mean, here's these women are on like they are very protective of me. So for him to put himself out there into this, right, that's impressive too, that he's just like, I haven't even spent one-on-one time with him, but yet he's willing to do this. I respect it. Um, and so now Colin's decided to go to the party too, because Colin's normally like, no. But I think he's just going because yeah,
He wants to get to know him.
he does. He does. So anyways, he's coming. So that's what's going on now. And I actually had this conversation with Colin. Right, is just as much as he says smacks, he can also be, he can ask, he's very good at asking questions, right? I feel like he has been in Coda for, almost 7 years via Zoom with me in his
Right. He's been
room, right?
listening
He's
and
here, yeah,
right.
right. So he starts asking me these questions and just like, what's the difference? And what do you like him? And why is he this? And and this actually just happened a couple nights ago, and I started thinking about it, and where I'm struggling sometimes is these old patterns and not even just old patterns, old, the individuals that I chose previously were so dishonest and so unreliable and I don't like to label people narcissistic, so that was the word I was going to pick up and say, but I do not like to say that. I don't like to label people like that. Um, right, very self-involved. What was the best for them, but not in a good way.
Very self-centered.
Very self-centered. Perfect word. Um, and so now I have this like this what this other person this person is presenting, it does not is not those same things. And right, we've had
I have a
that.
question to challenge you with.
Okay, please, please, please. I need to get all this out of my head. So
Are you getting excited over the bare minimum?
I'm not excited at all. If that, which is
Are
weird.
you sure? Because
Yes.
your tone sounds very, as you describe these things, right? Like you sound like you are very impressed by the fact that he's considering your son. You sound very impressed by the fact that he booked his own plane ticket. You sound very impressed by the fact that he considered your schedule. And I get that you would be impressed by those things because men in your past haven't done those things. And are those actually impressive things or are those things that we that people should do, like I should
Right.
just be a considerate human being?
And see, and that's what's really kind of messed up with this whole thing because first of all, I want to say there isn't excitement. I like it in the, what when I with excitement, I feel it in my body. I don't have any excitement towards it, which is also very new and weird. Um, I'm not stressing about it. I'm not like I'm overthinking it a little bit, but not again, not with that. You know what I mean when you feel excitement, how you feel it in your like in your body, your torso area. I don't feel that.
What would you say you feel? Because I hear something in your tone as you're talking about him.
Hopeful?
Okay.
Now, right? I also know, yes, and what you said was very true. Like, right, these little things that have not been presented to me before that he is presenting does make me extremely hopeful. Um, but then there's also the part of me is that I go into the other side of it. Wait, oh, is it just an act? Is it just, right? And I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't feel that's bad to feel that way either.
But so it sounds to me like, so it's really hard for me here because I can see the intentional awareness of behavior, right? Like these
Right?
are things I want, these are things that are happening, these are things that are good. And at the same time, we're looking a lot at him.
Right.
And that's, correct me if I'm wrong, is that's codependent to look so much at him versus looking at me.
It is. And I'm just trying to give you some background and like give this information first. And then now we can go all in on me because I need to go all in on me. Um, so here's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling uncertain. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling hopeful. I'm feeling nervous. I'm feeling
So, so far, every one of those feelings are exactly what I would expect someone to be feeling who's doing what you're getting ready to do.
And I think the problem that I'm having, Ashley, is the fact that I've never had like all of those four things that I said, right, was good and bad, right? There was a so in a way balance, right, with
Right.
it. I think where I'm struggling is that I've never felt this before. So this almost feels wrong in a way.
It's new.
It right, it's
It's
not
not that it feels wrong, it's that it's new. It's
like
different. It's something I've never done
it's
before.
it's foreign.
Right. It's foreign. You've never walked this path. So, of course, this path is a little scary.
Yes. And then I find myself overthinking, right? I haven't been intimate with someone in 3 years, right? Then now all of a sudden, these thoughts that I thought I had navigated through, right? I'm confident in who I am. My body is what it is, and I love my body. And I, right?
Being in recovery doesn't mean we don't ever question it. Being in recovery and being healthy doesn't mean that we don't ever have thoughts that go against health and
Right.
recovery, right? We can't control our thoughts. I can't control what pops into my head. Sometimes what pops into my head is an old survival pattern,
Mm-hmm.
but I can control my actions. I can control what I choose to do with that thought.
And that's what I'm really trying hard to do. And I can't, I've been successful so far. I really have been successful. It's my mind. And I think, we've talked about this a lot recently, the logic versus the stories. Like, logically, I'm good. Like, logically, I'm good. I know I can sit here and have this conversation with myself last night. Nope, that's a story, Dawn. logically, you know, but as you know, and you've been experiencing yourself, it's easy to say, I logically know this. I logically know that I am beautiful. I logically know that I'm desirable. I logically know that I bring a lot to the table. I like it's just some of those thoughts. And I go back to another one of my thoughts that I think about on the other side of it is, right, I said he's an entertainer, which sounds amazing and cool. And then I'm at a place of, hmm, are we financially equal?
Well, but so, okay, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Why are you getting to know this person?
Because he was really, really an amazing, like there was a connection the night I met him that I have not experienced. And right, as a codependent, I
So,
have, hang on,
what's your goal with getting to know him?
to see where this goes.
Oh, so it's not to be financially stable together. It's not
No,
to create a marriage. It's not to have someone to give you everything that you need. It's
nope,
not to, so it's literally just to see where it goes.
to see where it goes. Right. We've had conversations of, I don't want to get married
Then
again.
why does his finances matter?
I tell, ask, I don't know, like that. Right. Like, I
Right?
wish I fucking knew. Like, I know how irrational but again, the Colin and I are walking the dog and we're having this. And I actually said this to Colin. I said, one of the things I'm struggling with is financial. Like, oh, he's an entertainer. I don't know what he makes. We've never talked about what he makes. Never. He could be like rolling in the dough.
So if you'd have told your parents when you were a kid that you wanted to be an entertainer, what would they have said to
Oh,
you?
you won't, that's not a good career. That's not a long career. That you won't make any money. You're just going to be struggling. You're always going to struggle. You're always going
If
to
you'd have told your teachers that you were going to be an entertainer, what would they have said to you?
go be an entertainer and do the best job, best and be the best entertainer you can be.
I would not have heard that from my teachers, actually. My teachers would have said entertainers aren't, they're few and far between,
Well,
and
I
you
would have
really
heard,
need to learn this and learn that, and
yeah.
good luck. And you know what I mean? I
But
don't think
overall,
so.
yes, it would have been a very negative thing.
Right. So,
Yes.
of course, you have this preconceived notion in your head that an entertainer cannot make a living. However, if you interrogate that preconceived notion and you look at entertainers in the world, I mean, do they not make a pretty damn good living?
Yeah. Right. And it's not like he's an entertainer in South Carolina. He's an entertainer in NOLA.
Well, and I mean, even if he was
Yeah.
like,
No, no.
does he live on his own?
He lives on his own. He has a two-bedroom
Did he
apartment.
just buy a plane ticket because he felt like it?
He did, right? He just had
So
to jump a whole bunch of money into his car right? And he did it. And he did.
I
And
think that this is healthy conversation, right? This is how we change those thoughts. This is how we interrogate those thoughts, right? I have this idea that because this person is an entertainer, then our financial intimacy doesn't match. They don't meet
right.
each other. We need to reevaluate this because we are on different financial levels because I do this job and he does this job.
You know,
Well,
go ahead. Sorry, because there's something I want to say then. I forgot
well,
something.
well, that's just a preconceived notion, right? That's just this thought that everybody put into your head as a child. Anytime you said you were going to do this really cool thing, they would tell you can't do that thing because that thing's not going to make enough money. You have to do
Oh,
this really
right.
boring thing instead.
Yeah.
So, of course, you have this initial thought, but then you question that thought, you interrogate that thought, you ask questions about it, right? Do I actually believe that? And when we talk about it, the answer is no, you don't actually
No.
believe that.
You know, I thought of something while you were saying this, and there's something I've always like. I do talk to my sponsees, and I've said this, and I know you've heard me say it, right? You have to find an equal partner, and that means like financially equal. That means emotionally equal. That means, right, all things equal. But equal doesn't have to be a number, right? I think that's part of where I went with it. When I was evaluating, is this person my equal? Right. When I got to the financial aspect, I looked at it from a monetary standpoint versus is he my financial equal in the aspect of can he take care of himself to the level that he is comfortable taking care of himself? And I say that what I mean is, right, I I love nice things, right? I love certain things that I'm not going to sacrifice on. That doesn't mean somebody else is going to have that same thought and feeling about it. Where you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And what I hear you saying, what you're like, the words that are coming out of your mouth is, does he make as much money as I think he should make?
Right.
But what I actually hear you saying is he financially secure in his life?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter, right? If I make $30,000 a year or $100,000 a year,
Right.
the question is, do I live happily within the means in order to be secure and stable in my life?
Right. And I think you noted like these old patterns of where an entertainer, um, an artist, the creative side. I am not like like that's the other thing too. It's like I always just say I'm not creative. I am really creative, but the reason I said I wasn't creative was because I couldn't be creative because if you're creative, you don't make any money. And
Right. I wanted
money,
to be an artist. I wanted
oh,
so desperately to be an artist, but I still have this preconceived notion that just because you draw good or you write good doesn't mean you can make any money.
right.
But look at the millions of artists that are making millions of dollars a year. Look at
Uh-huh.
the millions of writers that are making millions of dollars a year. It's not,
And then I can also say I don't need to make a millions and millions of dollars a year because that wouldn't make me happy. I know money does not make you happy. So if I'm okay not making millions of dollars, well then if I'm an artist or a creative and I make $100,000 a year and I'm happy making $100,000 a year, then why am I not an artist if the money really doesn't matter?
right. Right. I mean, I don't think the issue is that we have these thoughts. I think the issue comes in when we don't interrogate these thoughts, when we don't question our thoughts to see if we really believe what we think.
Right. I do want to say make a preface something that we have last couple few weeks we have been talking about. We both have been struggling. And we've talked about it in meetings, and I think there might be a misconception that we are spiraling. And that is not the case. That doesn't mean we're not having a moment, but we are really, I know you, I know me, we are interrogating ourselves behind the scenes. We're just on here to share this journey and actually put it out into the universe.
Yeah. Do you know the last 3 weeks, I have had some really big things happen in my life? I have not spiraled once.
Hmm.
I am so beyond proud of the vulnerability that I have been able to show on this podcast and in our meetings.
Yes.
I've allowed the emotions to be there. I've let the tears out. I've let um, the very true, honest thoughts and emotions show.
That's I will say, I want to tell you this, and I've said this stuff to you in one on one, but I think honestly, Ashley, I've you and I have been connected for 4 years now, and I remember in the beginning the raw emotion that you had, and you had it in the beginning of the podcast, and then all of a sudden life happened, and you disconnected in a way because you were going through a lot, and it's just amazing to hear the Ashley I know again.
Well, and I mean, it was really hard. So when I first started, the raw emotion was there because I just didn't have any other choice. Right. I just didn't. I was so full that I was exploding. It was all just spilling out all
Yeah.
over the place. And then at some point, I think that's part of recovery, right? You go from throwing everything out all of the time and just throwing it all over the place. And then you really kind of pull back a little bit and reevaluate and
Hmm.
internalize and really, really take some time to get to know. I really took some time to get to know myself. Like what emotions really are real, what emotions really are there, what does vulnerable actually mean to me?
Right.
And at this point, I feel like being vulnerable, it doesn't necessarily mean I always show my emotion.
Right.
It is definitely there a lot more in a lot of situations, not so much on this podcast because, there's could be thousands of people listening at some point. Who knows how many people will ever hear this?
Right.
But it's really just sharing the authentic internal dialogue and the internal thoughts and feelings without being emotional in my behavior.
Right.
Um,
Um,
so uh, there definitely hasn't been a spiral.
no. Right. It is. It's very much of the like these thoughts have come into my head and these other thoughts have come in my head, but it's not, there's nothing. I think the thing about it is, it's like the thing, thoughts, and correct me if you do not agree with this, but, or don't correct me, just note if you don't agree with me. Um, I feel this time around, right, when I am not spiraling and I have the thoughts that I'm having, the thoughts are just in my head. When I spiral, it's in my whole body.
Right. Yeah. Like it's so if you picture I do this with my dog training, it's really the same thing. So if you picture somebody that's spiraling, right,
Hmm.
they're in the middle of an attack, a panic attack, an anxiety attack, a worry attack, their life being unmanageable, right, like however they're in the middle of a spiral, they are at level 100, right? They are all the way up. They are as intense as they can be. They are raw. They are just there. What I like even over the last 2 weeks, I've never made it to level 100.
Right.
Right? Yes, I'm sharing my thoughts. Yes, I'm being vulnerable. Yes, I have emotions and I feel have feelings, but the intensity has never really gotten up past like level 20 or 25. So there's no like if I touch it before it gets there, if I process it and I work through it before it ever gets to a level 100, then there's never a spiral because I
Right.
haven't pushed it away until it got there.
And I think that's what recovery is. Recovery isn't being at level zero.
Right, there's never a zero. Life. That's what life
Right.
does. Life throws shit.
Right. It's about never being at, I'll even say 75 and above.
Right. It's just not as intense, right? Yes, there are emotions. Yes, those emotions are deep. Yes, like there were things over the last 2 weeks in my life that were really, they were just huge things, changes and identities and
Mhm.
just grief and loss and gains and life and it never, because I never buried my feelings and I never buried my thoughts and I never stuffed them,
Yeah.
they never overflowed. They never exploded. It never got so intense that I spiraled. I just dealt with it as it came, every moment in the moment. So it just never got that high.
Great point, right? It is when I have this, I have a thought, right? I look at it then. Or if I can't, let's say I'm at work and I can't, right? Maybe I step away at lunch or maybe it's after work. But as soon as I can, I look at it. That's how I don't spiral because I never let things pile on. I used to pile, and then explode.
Right. Well, and typically it depends on the thoughts too. Like sometimes I'll have a thought and I'm like, yeah, that's garbage. I'll throw it out. And
Right.
then it'll creep back up the next day and I'll try to throw it out again. And then it'll creep back
Yep.
up the next day. And I'm like, okay, now I've got to examine this thought. I've got to really look at this. I can't just throw it away. Right. Some thoughts just get thrown away.
Yeah.
Some thoughts don't matter. Like there'll be a thought, oh, I need to contact this person. I'm like, whoa, no, I don't. And I just throw that thought away and it never gets looked at again. But there's other thoughts that I try to throw it away and it comes back.
Right.
And so I have to evaluate it. I have to interrogate it. I have to look at it and really decide, do I believe this or do I not? And if I do believe it, what is my next course of action?
So something else I'm not struggling with, I don't want to use that word. I'm navigating, right? I have been extremely vulnerable with this man. Um, right? I have told him. we've talked a lot. I've told him a lot of stuff. And I'm also struggling with being on the phone, and being vulnerable is very different than being face to face and vulnerable.
Where's your danger, right? So I want to talk about before we do that, sorry. I have been listening to Brene Brown's The Power of Vulnerability speech. She did a talking thing and she recorded it and it's available on Audible and I bought it and I've been listening to it. It's called The Power of Vulnerability. And in that, she talks about how there's two myths. There's really four myths about vulnerability, but the two main myths are vulnerability makes us weak and I don't do vulnerability. So
So what
the
do you
first thing, go
can you
ahead.
yeah, can you elaborate on that a little bit more? I understand the first part of it. I don't understand that I'm like you said I say those two things again. Let me
So the
so I can use
first
them right.
myth, there's four myths total. I don't remember the other two because I haven't gotten that far in the thing yet. But the first two myths that Brene talks about are myth number one about vulnerability is that vulnerability makes me weak.
Okay.
Being vulnerable makes me weak. There's many, many people in society who are terrified of being vulnerable because being vulnerable makes me weak. And that's similar to what you were talking about, right? It's easy to be vulnerable on the phone, but when it comes to being vulnerable in
Right.
person, I'm struggling. Well, the second myth that people say is I don't do vulnerability, right? Remember how I used to say I don't do anger? I don't get
Yes.
angry. I feel
Yes. And
anger, but
I
I
kept
don't get
challenging it.
angry.
Yes.
Yes. People say, a lot of people say, I don't do vulnerable. I'm right. I'm a man. I don't do vulnerable. Or I'm a CEO. I don't do
Do
vulnerable.
vulnerable.
I'm a lawyer. I don't do vulnerable. Right. Like there's a lot of people that will say they don't do vulnerability. The reason both of those things are myths is because one, everyone does vulnerability, whether they want to or not.
Right.
If you don't make the choice to be vulnerable, then vulnerability will make the choice for you and it will show up at the worst time,
Yep.
just like anger. The second part of it is, or the other part is, vulnerability makes me weak. And that is a lot of people are afraid to be vulnerable because it exposes us. And with that exposure comes the risk of quote unquote pain.
Hmm.
Well, I say air quotes, quote unquote pain, because if we love ourselves, if we are confident in ourselves, if we are happy with who we are, then what does showing who I am to someone else, how does that make me weak? Where is the weakness in there? Where is the risk in that?
So for I and what you said was like right, I was gonna say I don't believe in the second one. Like I vulnerability is a thing and I but it does scary. It is scary because right there is those old and especially just for me, right for me with recovery and the work I did, feeling less than was the underlying, and for most of us it is, but that is my thing was feeling less than. And I know, again, we go back to this logical part of it. I know being vulnerable does not make me weak. Being vulnerable does not make me less than. And it's not the vulnerable part that I have an issue with, or not even an issue with, but struggling with in a way. It's the different pieces where vulnerability can lie. So, for example, a vulnerability of bringing an individual into my home even for a weekend. Being vulnerable, right?
So
There will,
let's tackle each of these just
okay,
like we would do if we were on a call.
okay.
So what is the vulnerability of bringing someone into your home?
My space has been and is my sanctuary. And after Tony, right, I brought this person in and I did it such an unhealthy way. Even though I was in recovery multiple years, still did it unhealthy, right? Brought this person in, a year later, he's here. That's right. And so now, like when he left, I'm never doing that again. I'm not, I'm not that.
Are
And
you
I,
doing that again?
no,
Then why does this relate to that?
because that's where
It
my head
doesn't. It's
went.
just where your head went, right? That's
Yep.
that's why we have this conversation. So, what other way does bringing him into your home make you vulnerable? So, right, that first one that made you were talking about, that's not there, right? Because it's
Yep.
not tied together. So, what other ways does it make you vulnerable?
It makes me feel it makes me feel less than like
Less than why? How?
that my space isn't going to be good enough.
What's wrong with your space?
For me, my space is perfection
So, what are you worried isn't going to be good enough with your space?
because right? Oh, I don't own my own home. Oh, my apartment's small. Oh, right, my office is in the middle of my living room. Oh, my blankets are just thrown on my couch. Oh, right, all those thoughts that I
Well,
know.
but are those thoughts that you have about your
Yeah,
space?
yeah, probably. Actually,
There you
probably.
go. So, right, I mean, those are your thoughts about your space. Those are your concerns about your space. Those are, right, that's the part of it that is very important for us to take note of is it's not that we think somebody else is going to come in here and think these thoughts. It's that we think these
Hmm.
thoughts.
And what gets me is what I did while I was talking, I kind of looked around and I'm like, so if I'm making the comment that my blankets are laying on my couch, not like just thrown on my couch, and I'm noting that to you, then why the fuck have I not folded the blankets on my couch? Because clearly that is something I noted
But when did you note it?
just now when I was talking about
Exactly.
it,
So why haven't you folded them?
because I'm talking to you,
Exactly. Right. So it's easy to get into that shame spiral,
right?
even though there's no shame there. And that's the other thing in this book is a lot of times we are afraid to be vulnerable because we are ashamed. Shame is not, I did something bad. That's guilt. Shame is, I am bad. Inherently, something is not right. Inherently, I am less than. Inherently, if I feel shame, then I am afraid to be vulnerable. And the thing with feeling shame is we never want to talk about it because we're ashamed. But as soon as we start talking about it, that shame goes away.
Yeah, because when I'm talking about it, I'm like, well, this is ridiculous.
Right? What is there to be ashamed of? So what? My house is small. There's only two of us in it. So
Right?
what? I
Less to
don't own
clean,
it. I love my apartment. I'm here because I want to be, because I don't want yard work and I don't
right?
want responsibility of owning a home and I don't want the upkeep. So, right? Like, so what if my blankets are on the couch? I sit on the couch and cover up with my blanket every single day. It's going to stay on the couch because that's where I like it to be.
Right.
Like, like these things are it's not that you feel guilty because your house is too small. You chose your house. Your
Right.
house is the size it is because it works for you. You like your house. It's that you feel shame around other people's judgments because you don't feel good enough.
Yes. And it's really interesting because with like, and I, he rents. We've talked about our apartments. We've talked about like, we've shared this stuff.
It has nothing to do with him.
Right. Like,
That's the key, right? Our shame, our fear of vulnerability, it has nothing to do with anyone else. It's ours. It's all about us, our opinions, our thoughts, our fears. And the only one that can change it is us.
right. And I don't want to change it because I like it.
Well, you want to change your shame, right? You want to
Oh,
change,
yes.
right? Like the only way that you're going to change that fear of vulnerability is to acknowledge these things that you feel. And the only word I can use is shame, right? Because it's
Hmm.
not that you feel like they're not good enough, because they are good enough. They're what you want. There's just some sort of shame around them because other people have told you these things, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure at some point your mom was like, oh, you
Oh,
got to own a house. If you
you
don't own
nailed
a
it.
house, right? So now you have some sort of shame around not owning a house.
Hmm.
But really, there's no shame around not owning a house. You have a beautiful apartment that you guys love that works really well for you. Where's the shame?
in my in my head,
In my head. That's it. And the only way to get it out of your head is to bring it to the light.
right?
But so often we are ashamed of our shame. So we refuse to bring it to the light. And so we just refuse to be vulnerable and we refuse to show it and we refuse to interact with people in an authentic way until we get so full of everyone else that there's no room left and it just spills out all over the place.
Right.
That
And
is a spiral.
it's really different this time, right? My girlfriends have been here. Right, you guys see my room every, you see my house every night, every twice a week. Um, it's interesting this time around, and I think it's because I do have hope with this that and
Have you put him on a pedestal?
no, no, not at all. That no, that I have not done. I'm you know what it is, I think? I've put my recovery and the potential for a healthy relationship on a pedestal.
There you go. That's it. I think we all do that. I have put the potential for a healthy relationship on a pedestal. And by doing that, it makes me terrified to go out and look at one and look for one because it'll never line up. It'll never
Right?
meet these idealized expectations.
Yes, that is really what it is. Hmm.
So you're hopeful, but you're afraid to be hopeful because what if it doesn't work?
Right? What if it isn't what it's supposed to be that we say what from a recovery place? But
Right. Well, but what's it supposed to be?
fuck if I know.
Exactly. Right? Like there is no supposed to be. I'm just here for the day. I'm not here for the next 6 years. I'm not
Right?
here for a marriage. I mean, it may become a marriage, but I have no idea. I'm just here for now. So I have this fear of something not being what it's supposed to be, but I don't even know what it's supposed to be.
That, and again, not a spiral, just, hmm, this really sucks, but it's okay.
It's honest conversation, it's honest communication,
Yep.
it's the way we avoid a spiral,
Yeah.
right? It's acknowledging these thoughts and feelings before they get so overwhelming that I'm doing things subconsciously to manage people, places, and things that are completely out of my control in order to try to get what I want, even though I don't even know what I want.
Yep.
That this communication is what prevents that. These kinds of talks, like what we had today, that is what prevents spirals.
So there's one other aspect of vulnerability that I'm trying to navigate, and this one is sexual intimacy. And what's interesting, why I find this one interesting is, well, first of all, sexual intimacy is right. I've had sexual intimacy, and again, right, I'm using the word sexual intimacy because I'm talking about a very specific kind. I'm talking about sex.
Are you talking about sex or are you talking about sexual
I'm
intimacy?
gonna talk
Because
about,
there's two very big
yes,
differences.
I'm gonna talk about both. So, sex is what I've always had, right? It was very fear-based, not fear like I was scared of getting hurt, but right, just
Like, let me grab a hold of him so that he doesn't run away.
correct. And right, as a woman, we have a lot of power with our sexuality.
The magical sexual
Oh,
powers.
yes. God. This time around, I don't want to go that route. This time around, I want to have sexual intimacy. I want to say what I like and say what I don't like and ask for what I need and give what I want and not overgive. Um,
And
and
be authentic with what you like and don't like and
yes,
what actually works and doesn't work. That's one
right.
of the hardest for me. That is one of the most difficult conversations I have ever had. Honestly, I don't think I have yet to find a way to tell my partner how I prefer sex. Like if they don't do what I like, or if I don't climax, I will not say a word.
Right.
And that's one of the most difficult conversations for me,
Hmm.
I have found, I think, to have would be, hey, I really would like it if you would try it this way, or hey, let's do this, or like that is for me, that's a very awkward conversation. Like, I don't
Right.
know how I would have that conversation.
Because then there's always been this aspect of I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want them to feel less than. So then I just,
That's the main reason for me.
right. Yes. And so then I put
And
myself on the chopping block versus nobody has to be on the chopping block, if that
well,
makes
I
sense.
mean, right, it's really hard for me to have a conversation with a man and say, "Hey, I would really need this sexually instead of that." Or,
Yes.
"Hey, can you do this? It's what I like better." Because it, sex for men is a very touchy subject. Like, you can't tell a man he's not good at
Right.
sex. Even if he's horrible and he knows he's horrible, if you're say like if a woman says I'm sorry, you're not it doesn't even have to be a man or a woman. A man can't tell a
Yeah.
woman she's good bad at sex either. Like you cannot tell your partner this doesn't I'm you can, you should. We should absolutely be able to be vulnerable enough to say, "Hey, this sex this way doesn't work for me. It
Right.
makes me uncomfortable. I prefer sex this way."
Or the other party is like, okay, afterwards and everything, but you've come down from the high and right, how was that? Was there, you know, right, especially early in the relationship. Why do we not have that conversation of, is there something I could have the person somebody asking, could I have done something different?
Or how about the flip side of that when they do ask and you're afraid to be
Right.
honest?
And you just be honest. Not, and again, none of this is in an unloving way. This is very much in a very loving, supportive, but asking for what I need, right? That's boundaries. That's boundaries are just asking for what I need in a very respectful way.
Yeah, I think about having the conversation about sex with a future partner and just I don't even I'm not dating. Right? I'm not even dating. I'm not even trying to date. So just the idea of an unknown future partner and a possible conversation about sex and what I prefer or what I don't, like that gives me anxiety.
Uh-huh.
And there's not even an actual person to think about it with.
Yeah. So that's where I was. It's like I've thought about it and I've considered it, but I always put it, whatever, it's not happening and I'm not interested. Now it's 2 weeks away. And I'm like, oh fuck. Now I like that's why I wanted to talk about this because I need to talk about it because I can't if this kept piling up for 2 weeks, I would have been a hot mess on that when he gets
You
here.
would have been spiraling.
Yes.
You'd have been in your coat of crazies trying to figure out what you can do to keep him.
Right. But what I need to do is keep me. I need to stay true to me. Ask for what I need, not shift up who I am.
Just remember what is the goal for this relationship.
See how it goes.
That's it. Let's just see how it goes. Let's just hang out. Let's just spend time together. Let's just see how it goes and let me give the best me I can give.
Right.
The
The
most honest and authentic me that I can be in this moment is my goal.
Yep. And my best me might not be the best me for him. He
And that's
might,
okay.
it is okay. The one thing I keep saying, and I said this when I went to New Orleans and I met him, right? I know, remember we talked about this and it was probably on a podcast. I said, it doesn't matter whatever comes of this because what he showed me is that I can meet someone spontaneous.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Then, right, one of our early, not first, early conversations was we talked about religion and we talked about um, politics and he sent me a video and I think I sent it to you guys. I sent it to my friends or somebody, but I was like, oh, your girl found a guy that sends her this instead of dick pics, right?
Yes.
And in that moment, I was like, and through these conversations that I've had with him, it was like, okay, he might not be and I'm going to say this, I don't believe in the one, but he might not be the one and but I actually am using but this time. But he also is showing me that there are people out there can have deep conversations, healthy conversations, and can give me what I want and I'm looking for in a partner. And I keep saying that, but then here I am, right? Not spiraling, but just having a little these thoughts going through my head. You know what? What if he is no more than this guy that comes for a weekend and I actually can have a conversation about what I need from a sexual intimacy perspective and he goes his separate way, then at least I can say, well, I got an opportunity to ask for what I needed with sexual intimacy. It didn't work out, so you know what? I know I can.
You got practice, you got
Exactly.
experience, right? You got growth, right?
Yep.
And I think that that's the best way to go into these things, especially when we're talking about dating as adults in our healthy era, in our Me Too era, in our our
Hmm.
growth era. We're talking about dating and trying to get to know someone and just being honest and authentic and vulnerable.
Right.
And I think that that's a win. All of it. Like, right? I can come into this open minded and aware with intentional, authentic vulnerability. This is me. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. I'm still going to be me and I'm still going to love me.
Yep.
Wow, for me, that's what it's all about.
It really is. And right, and I again, we've said it multiple times, I know this, right? I know this. I need to get this out of me because if I don't get it out of me, then it's going to fester. That is probably the biggest suggestion in recovery that I can tell someone. Get that shit out of you,
Yeah, don't let it build up until it comes out unintentionally on its own,
right?
right? Be intentional about letting the vulnerability out, about letting the anxieties and the fears and right, have the conversations about these thoughts so that we can come to an honest understanding. So many times I think we're afraid to question each other, and questioning each other doesn't mean I'm saying you're wrong. It's just me asking, are you sure this is what you want?
Right. Ashley, thank you for the conversation. I did want to bring up something that we haven't mentioned on this podcast before. On Monday nights, we have a 12-step plus meeting that is a Work It, You Are Worth It meeting that you and I started um, that offers a place to have these conversations, a safe
Open
place.
a safe place for open, authentic, vulnerable conversations.
Right. That doesn't mean you get told what you want to hear. That doesn't mean but not in a, there's no shame. There's none of that in that. It's just an authentic conversation. And so I thought it would be something we could share on this podcast for our listeners that if they would like to join us, they can go to the workitYouAreWorthIt.com and there is a 12-step plus meeting tab on the website and you can find the link for the meeting there.
And you can just join Dawn and I in one of these conversations, and we'll
Yeah.
just have some more just like this.
All right, Ashley, thank you for an amazing podcast. Listeners, please send in your questions, any readings you have, that like letters to yourself, whatever it is, something, a topic, anything, just anything you want to share. If you want to be part of this podcast and for an hour or so, let us know, and we can so you can have you join us in conversation.
All right. Thank you, Dawn. It's been a wonderful
Thanks.
conversation. Another great week.
Thanks, Ashley. I needed this. I needed to get it out. I appreciate you listeners, for entertaining me with what I'm
We love
and
it.
yeah. And don't worry. I will say this for those of you that are listening to this and invested in a few weeks after it's over, I'm sure I will have to talk about it again.
I'm sure there'll be an update. All right,
All
Dawn. Have a
right.
great week.
Bye.
Bye.
We would like to thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery. Visit the Work It website at workityouareworthit.com to submit your questions and topics for future episodes. And remember, work it because you are worth it.